how we look at skills and then personalities and mindset. So when we look at skills, we want to see if you've got the skills to do the job, but we also want to take a look at any additional skills you have. For example, we might do 90% of our proposals in Word. And so if that's the case, we would expect you to demonstrate that you've got skills in Word. But if you're also proficient in working in InDesign and PowerPoint, we want to know that too, because we might have those 10% of proposals that are in InDesign and PowerPoint, and we might really need somebody on our team because maybe nobody else knows InDesign yet. Are you fluent in another language? We might not have put this in the job description, but it might be that, our team in Europe or Latin America is short-staffed. And so if you can speak French or Spanish fluently, that could be a bonus to us that we weren't necessarily thinking of when we wrote that job description. Also, if you've served in another role, such as contracts, finance, or if you've been a consultant, don't hide that in your resume and make it sound like you've only done proposal work. That other type of experience is actually really helpful to us because contracts are a big part of proposals. If you've been in finance, you might be a great asset when it comes to the pricing. And if you've been a consultant in the same industry, then you might be able to contribute a great deal to the actual approach and solution development. When it comes to the mindset and personality, again, proposals are a team sport. So we need to know that you can work well with others. We need to know that you can communicate, and that's something that's going to be important as we talk during the interview process. Proposals are not all the same. The instructions are different. Lots of times they're not very good. They're confusing. And so we need people who can work in situations where, the rules are not clear. And, people need to be not afraid to ask for help or ask for guidance or ask for clarification. We don't want you to sit back there and say, oh, I'm going to figure this all out by myself based on my 1 month of experience. No. Please come ask for help, because there are a lot of people who have been through this before, and we don't want you to be afraid to ask. Finally, we really need people who have positive attitudes and think, I can do this. Because there are so many times in the proposal field where people don't meet deadlines, they don't give you what you need. They don't come through because they're, pulled into a client emergency and they don't have time for you. That we always have to come up with a plan B. And so we need to know that you're that type of person who can help find that plan B and just really roll with the punches and not get torn down by it. Okay, let's go. Okay, so there's a ton of positions that are transferable to proposal writing and vice versa for that matter. We've hired people who have come from backgrounds in quality assurance, quality control, technical writing, copy editing. I've hired a couple great proposal managers who were journalists in their prior careers. Had some great coordinators and managers who were teachers, again, used to herding cats and dealing with, people with kindergartners' personalities and attention span, as well as people from sales and marketing. And it goes back to the skills you're looking for. Are you looking for someone with project management skills or writing or collaboration or that industry knowledge? So be open-minded. It's not all about finding, somebody with 10 years of proposal management experience.
Kimberly, I'm curious on your take on this too. Have you hired some people with unusual backgrounds in your time, or have they mostly been proposal folks?
No, I have hired for different backgrounds that were proposal adjacent often. So one great example is I hired someone who came from the services team. So they were doing like active customer implementations, designing those plans. They were used to working customer facing, which wasn't part of the proposal job, but it meant that they knew how to word and phrase things in ways that were relatable to customers. They also had to the skill to build visual presentations of what an implementation plan would look like. So I have hired from a variety of different adjacent departments, that just being one, a good, really solid example of how that can work or how skills can be transferable back and forth. And it's really what your team needs. Like, what does this team need?
Yeah, and I know that I am being sensitive to time, but I did see a really good question come up here in the chat, where Ruba is saying that in their experience, when you demonstrate other experiences and skills, the hiring managers question if you're committed enough to being in a proposal role. I was asked once if I will be committed to the position that I have because I have previous marketing and business development experience. So I would say that that's a fearful manager who just doesn't really necessarily understand how to hire to get the best team. Do y'all agree that that's on the manager for having a perspective that isn't helpful?
Yes and no. I mean, I've hired people who have been in more business development roles for proposal manager roles. And when I hired them, it was, sort of thinking, I don't know if this is going to work out. The role they're used to playing was more external, where they had a lot of travel and meeting with teaming partners. And, are they really going to be happy sitting in the office working in Word documents all day long? And I asked that question during the interview because I really wanted to make sure. And we gave that person a chance, and in less than a year he moved on. And then when we backfilled that position, we had someone who also came from a similar background. And I did not want to go through that again, but the hiring manager on my team wanted to give her a chance. And sure enough, within a year, she was gone. So, but I've also seen other times where it has worked out. And so I think, what you need to do is make the case for why you are passionate about proposals and why this is the role that you sincerely want. Looking back, neither one of them really did it. I think it was clear that they just needed a job, and they took that one in the hopes that they would get back into a business development role.
Really,
so that's my take.
Yeah, Kimberly?
Yeah, I would use that as a great segue into a deeper conversation with that manager, right? Like, okay, that leads me to a great question. Is your team very, are you have a smaller, more agile team? Is it a larger corporation? I mean, I have 100 questions that come from that. Like, is it a larger corporation with very set roles and boundaries, right? And so I think that can segue into a deeper conversation about what both of you are looking for. Yeah.
Ultimately, it's really important to find out something that fits both of you, not just you showing up and making some money, but everybody benefiting, right? And I think that kind of showcases, both of your answers showcase that let's make sure that everybody's having a good time here and we're lessening our risk of turnover for everyone. Absolutely. Okay, so with about 15 minutes left, we are going to launch into finding the right team.